Welcome to episode 2 of Real-Time Design. I'm going to take you inside my Photoshop design process for 30 minutes straight, unedited, uncut footage. Aside from pre-selecting some assets that I plan on using for this poster, I really have not planned this design out at all. You're going to see me experimenting live, trying some different things out. Hopefully it gives you a good glimpse of what my design process looks like. Apologies ahead of time. Unfortunately, the video did not record for this 30-minute session, but I've got audio, you've got my commentary. With that, let's get into it. So let's start off with this cutout. I'm just gonna go ahead and first work on some general player retouching. So camera raw filter, open it up and mess with some of these settings, bring up the shadows. I think for this design, normally white background is kind of my comfort zone, but we're gonna do a purple background for the Atlanta hustle. Also gonna ramp up the noise reduction a bit, just so we get this like smoother look on our initial cutout here. So let's set this background color to the hustle purple. Honestly, let's just eyedropper a jersey color. So something like that. Maybe we do a gradient. We could do like a dark gradient. Let's just make a new layer and do a, I don't know, maybe more purple on the bottom, fade up to dark, kind of give it this like midnight type look. Could just do like a straight vertical gradient. But yeah, I feel like that is an interesting starting point. Let's give our cutout some foot shadows. We'll bring down this brush, squish it so it's horizontal, bring the flow way down, and then we'll start brushing at our cutout's feet and just gradually bring this out. And then this foot is in front, so let's bring another shadow like there maybe. Yeah, something like this. And then we probably want that space in between covered as well. Maybe one big click. And that feels pretty good for a floor shadow. Pretty rough, but this is gonna be Taylor cutout. This is gonna be like somewhat of a rough poster design, only 30 minutes. If I like where I'm at after 30 minutes and want to keep going, want to take longer, I'm going to, but you're only gonna get to see the first 30 minutes of this design. Hopefully, you know, the goal is gonna be to finish a design in 30 minutes. But last time, well, I know now my video camera cuts off at exactly 30 minutes. So we're going to do our best to stick to that. Okay, I've been wasting too much time. I'm gonna make a reflection effect here because I was playing around with a different design a little bit ago and I liked how it looked just on a clean background. We're gonna flip this vertical and we'll line it up right about there. We will bring down the opacity. Well, first let's fade it out with a gradient. And I'm actually gonna lift all this up just so we have more of it to work with, just in case we want to move it around later. Put a mask on it, black gradient, oh, wrong way. And fade it out like so. And can bring down the opacity as well. We can also get rid of unwanted colors. So like we have some green on his cleat. Let's fix that with the hue and saturation layer. Clipping it, desaturate the greens. Let's see, yellows. Could desaturate the yellows. I mean, it takes it out of his hair. So maybe just a little bit. Anything else? Cyans. Yeah, we can dump those. Magentas. Basically anything I'm not seeing like overwhelmingly coloring our cutout, we're just gonna desaturate those completely. So I feel like that's solid. We can apply these same things to the reflection as well. And then let's just do some basic player retouching with curves. Going to hide this curves layer, make it brighter, and we want to change this brush back to normal, bring the flow up a good bit. And we'll just start painting on some of the brighter parts and just looking for some more popping out contrast with this effect. But I won't spend too much time on it, just enough that we get some kind of depth going with this cutout. And then we'll do the same thing with the dark tones as well, accentuating the shadows. So let's switch over to those, duplicate this, bring our curves layer down, and then again, inverted mask, can darken this area under the arm. And I'm just trying to make darker the parts that are already dark. I do want to go back and brighten the eyes a little bit as well. Yeah, let's make sure we get the bottom of the shoes as well. So we can go back to our highlight curves layer, just make sure we're getting a good amount of brightness on the eyes, and then some contrast in the hair, I think, with the darker curves layer. But that feels pretty good. You can see before and after, just kind of touches it up, makes it pop out a bit more. So I'm liking this as a starting point. Now we're going to decide what else we want to do. So I have a few ideas. I should do a live video at some point, then I can ask people what they think would be best. But here it is. No, this, what photo is it? This one. This is the Hustle flag that some fans are holding. I think it'd be kind of cool to just have like a flag floating behind the cutout. Another idea is to bring in another bigger cutout, kind of a classic 2 cutout stack look. I mean, it's pretty good. It's a good photo. I just don't know if I want to take the time to touch up another one, but let's see how it's sized. I'm going to match these head sizes and then blow this one up by 1.6 times 1.6. And let's do it again. Times 1.6. Keep everything in that golden ratio. And yeah, I mean, it's hard to not like the look of this back cutout. It's very clean. We can wonder if we just like make it take on a different color scheme, if that'll make it interesting at all. Black and white isn't great in this case just because we have a more colorful background. We could try purple and white, but again, I think because it's a gradient background we went with, we don't have to, but to me it makes more sense. I mean, luminosity kind of makes it take on the color of the background. You know what? I'm leaning towards no cutout, because I think if we have the cutout back there, I'd rather just be full color, which we could do. All right, well, let's table it for now. Let's make a new layer. I have this cityscape of Atlanta I want to incorporate, and I think I want to try to put it in some big letters, like if we do ATL typed out, make it Termina black font, although it should probably be a more vertical font. Let's see what we have. I mean, could always go Dharma Gothic. It's kind of the extreme version. ATL. But I want something a little wider. There's got to be some happy medium. Maybe just like a Montserrat. Let's see. Montserrat bold. Yeah, I think this could work. Let's just center it. We can move it up a little bit. Maybe there, and then size it up some more. I feel like this can look good if we just clip this to the ATL and just have this like bit of city showing through. And then we can change, because the Hustle are a purple and orange team, we can change this text to orange and work in that as a second color. So I'm just gonna desaturate this image, set it to, yeah, probably overlay, maybe hard light, probably overlay. Multiply is okay. Stick with overlay. Maybe fade it out. I don't know. Not loving it. We could give this an inner shadow and see if that depth helps. Just give it a multiply black inner shadow. Kind of makes it feel cut out of the background. It's not bad, but I'm not liking it enough. So you know what? Let's go back to our friend Big Cutout. Let's tack on these same camera raw filter effects on the big one. Yeah, that's feeling the best of the options I've gone with so far. And then I'm gonna do kind of a even rougher paint job of some of these brightness and darkness layers. Can ramp up the flow. And just touching up some of this to get more contrast. Something like that. And then we'll do the same thing for a darker curves layer. I do think this helps with jersey detail a lot. Like if you can really separate those folds, like the dark and the light folds, I think it just helps deepen everything. And you can kind of just paint the whole bottom part dark for contrast's sake. But that is feeling pretty good. I mean, clearly the color differences here are somewhat extreme. Like we gotta match those better. We do have this hue and saturation layer that I can drag down onto our back cutout as well. Didn't make a huge difference. It's just because of the skin tone. It's less yellow. It's more red. So let's bring out selective color, and we'll make this one. We'll go to the reds, and I think we just want a little bit more yellow. And then we can just put some like master adjustments to affect both. Honestly, the purple in the jersey is slightly off too. I think the back one is matching the background some more, so let's mess with the purple on our front cutout. Again, selective color. We'll go to our blues. Yeah, and just play with these. I think that, yeah, that's helping. The black and the yellow seem to be the keys there. Anything else? Yeah, something like this. Okay. So this feels like a pretty good foundation for a design. We'll call this back cutout. And yeah, the Atlanta thing, I mean, maybe we just don't clip it. Maybe we just keep it as a background texture almost. Can put it there. Let's fade it out as well with the gradient overlay. Yeah, like I think that's a better fit for it, honestly. The ATL idea was interesting, but it was better in my head, which is gonna happen, and that's okay. Ooh, maybe multiply is the best bet here, because I like how it kind of just bleeds into the darkness of the top of the design, and that's a good spot to put some like brighter text too. We can move down our cutouts as well, so something like that. And this ground, I don't want to be perfectly smooth, so we'll have to figure out some texture, but let's bring back this ATL. Don't worry, we're gonna mess with it. Let's call it Austin Taylor Atlanta Hustle. Real simple for now. Can kind of be just like placeholder text. I want to go back to the Termina font that it was set to before. And we'll just get a bit of contrast with a bold and then a medium weight. So I don't know, maybe it should just be one line with a slash. It's a clean, classic look. I've definitely gone with it before, but I like it. I think it's pretty effective. Spaced out is always nice too. And then we'll set this like 2-box margin from the top. I feel like the smaller you make the text, the more it emphasizes the image itself. So people might complain about small text, how it's not readable, but it does a lot to just like round out the composition. So that's feeling pretty good. Let's do something for the floor. I mean, maybe it is fine that, because it's reflective, obviously. We're getting this shoe reflection, so maybe it doesn't need a texture, and that's just my instinct kicking in. I do think we could fade out the reflection a little more gradually. So yeah, maybe something like that, and it can be basically all the way faded out by the time we hit the bottom. I think that has a slightly better feel to it. So the other thing we could put behind the back cutout is maybe the jersey number 2. If we want to add just a big number 2, I do want it masked in the same way. So why don't we put the player mask on this back cutout folder and then drop the 2 in there with it. And blow this up a good bit. I mean, it's interesting. Could make it orange. Could also make it like take on some of the city texture as well. So the city's like bleeding through and popping out in that way. Yeah, it's okay. Maybe it's a little much. I tend to like more subtle designs, less bold, but you know, this whole video series is just pushing my comfort zone, so maybe we just try and embrace that some more. Maybe it's the font I don't like. Or honestly, I feel like just a stroked number is fine. Oftentimes, I'm just overthinking these things, and simpler is often better. Yeah, like to me, that's pretty good. Maybe make it bolder. Or maybe we go back to Montserrat black. No. I think that. I feel like either that, or maybe if we don't have it stroked, I could do just like a skinny, a thin number 2. Blow it up real big. No, I think let's go back to, I think the stroke was the best of the options I just tried out quickly. But something about it, it's not feeling great. Maybe I just need to create more depth. Let's do a slight blur on the background, just to make it feel like this was almost like a photo taken. So we do a little blur on the background. I don't love blurring the second cutout if we can help it, but I am curious. Yeah, I mean, it's okay. It's all right. I think let's keep both cutouts in focus. Oh, and I meant to change the skin tone of both of these, so let's group these together, call it players, selective color layer, and then do the reds. Although, yeah, that front one is still too, like, ghostly. Maybe I need to come in here and just give him some more color in general. Oh yeah, just darkening it, I think is gonna be helpful. Yeah, I think that's right, although it just kind of looks too bright. It's probably just the brightness in the curves layer that I used. Like, it's kind of removing some of the definition from different parts of them. So I'll ease up on that. That's feeling better. So I'll have to figure out what to do. Maybe that flag, honestly. Let's see if the flag makes sense behind the cutout. I mean, like, this design as is could work fine, but let's see if we can push it to make anything better. Let's get our flag. I should have cut this out before, but I didn't really think to do that. Maybe we can just take a pen tool in this case. Almost never do I use a pen tool to make my cutouts, but you're seeing a rare occasion. I mean, usually with things like rectangular or just like simple shapes, I can find it's not really worth the hassle of dealing with the quick selection tool just to try and get it perfect. Ooh, could we have it going like all the way across the design? Might be interesting. Let's see. Put it behind. Oh, and still we need that same fade on it unless we had it higher. No, I think not the full width is the move. Maybe we just try to like skew it. Although, I don't know, the whole thing about like just a floating flag, I don't know if that feels great. Maybe we just need to like connect it with some wires just going off the screen. Maybe that'll feel better. It's also hard to get a sense when it's the wrong color. So I'm gonna have to fix that. Let's put in some like sort of placeholder wires. This might just be dumb, but let's see, that's too thick. Just using my brush to brush these out. Something like there. I mean, it's honestly not bad. I don't hate it. So let's call this flag. Let's steal that same mask of the back cutout. Although I think it's just gonna have to go in that folder, which is fine. Let's do that. And then color-wise, we're gonna have to fix it. Camera raw filter. It's gonna have to be brighter and less noisy. So yeah, I think reducing the noise a good amount is gonna be helpful. And then maybe also sharpening just the edges. And it can add some texture and clarity too. Let's see how that looks, and then we can fine tune this purple color. Okay, so like texture wise, that's looking pretty good. And then let's clean up this edge. And maybe this will be the last thing we try before some finishing effects. But let's get this color right first before we move on. Selective color, clip it. Blues, it's gonna have to be more blue. Okay, there we go. That's kind of the right, closer to the right shade of purple. And what's nice about having the gradient is like it doesn't have to match exactly because we kind of have a range of colors that it applies to. Okay, that's helpful to get some cyan in the magentas. And something around there feels pretty good. Honestly, the orange looks pretty good. I think it's a little bit more faded on the jersey, so maybe if we go into the reds, we can up this black number or lower the black. I mean, as far as like adding an element behind the big cutout goes, I kind of like this look of the flag, even if it feels a little bit weird with these fake strings I just drew on. But it's not bad. I mean, would it be more interesting if it was a little bit in motion? Potentially. Let's take the whole flag, convert it for smart filters, and just give it a little bit of motion blur. That's not a little. Yeah, I do kind of like that. Okay, that's cool. All right, I'm on board with flag idea. I'm sold. Maybe, honestly, just while we're focusing on the flag, maybe we can just add some highlights while we're here. So, real quick, because I'm running out of time and we got to move on. Don't want my video to turn off on me again. Take our flow down and just start painting on the brighter parts. If you're new to sports design, by the way, you should get used to doing this process, because this is kind of just like standard practice for a lot of the good designs out there. It's kind of an easy way to make things pop, add some depth, get your highlights done, get your shadows done, and you can be a lot more like detailed and take your time more than I am in this video. These videos are not meant to be complete tutorials, but more just like showing you a glimpse of what my design process looks like sometimes. But I really am coming into these pretty cold. Like, yes, I've picked out the assets, but I don't have a great idea of what I want to do with the design until I'm in here. And you can kind of see me working things out. So that feels like a good adjustment for the flag. Let's save that. Yeah, I'm really liking how this design came together. I like the shininess of it. Let's go ahead and apply this to its own layer. Get into camera raw filter. Start tweaking things. Can maybe add some clarity and some vignetting on the edges too. I mean, I don't feel strongly about having to make any strong adjustments to this. Maybe a little more noise reduction. Keep that smooth theme going. And then we can add on, let's see, I mean, I have a textures folder open. Can try this like lighting bokeh texture that I have. See if that helps it at all. But I'm kind of tempted to leave it mostly as is and call it a day. But let's just see. I mean, maybe some like softer version of this effect. This is okay, maybe just on the right side. Let's take that and do a white gradient just to gradually fade that in. Like, I don't mind a little bit of sort of fake lighting elements on the edge. We could balance it out with the same thing on the right. I guess let's see how it looks. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, let's just keep it on one side. And I think final color adjustments, we can always go into our color lookup, see if any of these look interesting. Maybe a 3-strip makes it too blue. Could always drop the blues, crisp, warm. I think maybe fall colors. Yeah, fall colors I feel like is the right balance for this orange and the skin tones. That looks pretty good to me. Maybe 50%. I think that's good. I mean, maybe the text is a little high up. Let's lower it. Maybe all the elements just need to be a little bit lower. Players, the city. Just drop things down a tiny bit. But that's gonna work out. Let's call it a day right there. Convert it for smart filters. Bring on these camera raw filters, and then bring back on our textures, and we're good to go. That is a finished poster design in 30 minutes. Hope you learned something. I will see you in the next one.